Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from Jay, Oklahoma. We're here at Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from Jay, Oklahoma. We're here at Mid-America Outdoors, and we've got some great RC racing coming your way, courtesy of RC Racing at Visions Off-Road, presented by A-Main Hobbies. Ken Stout with you, Mike Garrison sitting right alongside, Scotty Ernst out there at trackside. Brandon Rohde, the man behind this, that has brought it all to this beautiful complex. Without question, the nicest off-road complex I've ever seen. So we're looking forward to a great day of racing action here. It's qualifying day. Go fast day, if you will, and of course that will set fields for race day come tomorrow. Mike, we've got a nice day ahead of us. Guys have already been on the track all day yesterday, had some practice, had some seating sessions, so they're familiar with what they're going to race on. What should we expect here today?
Oh, it's going to be a fantastic day of racing. It's going to be a hot one, that's for sure, but the track's ready to go. The track crew is getting the track ready now, and first up here, we're going to be seeing our Open Nitro buggy guys. These guys are going to be fighting for not only $1,000 to bump their way up into the invite for the big money, but obviously they want bragging rights as well, and we've got some of the best drivers in the nation here this weekend. It's going to be some fantastic racing for sure.
So we'll talk about the lineup. They basically will start off based on how they ran their 3 consecutive lap seating session one day ago. So to explain that a little further, whoever had the best 3 consecutive laps and their particular group, in this case the Open Nitro category, it's how they will start their qualifying here. And then today, let's talk about the format that we'll be using.
Yeah, so today these guys are going to be doing with a typical RC qualifying. However, if they top qualify, and they're going to go on to the invite class, if they take that TG spot, $1,000 as well in their pocket, and then that's going to allow another group there. We're looking here at the guys as they working their way around on the track here, getting their first laps of the morning here at Visions. Our Open Nitro buggy heat number 1.
Sorry, guys, getting some things sorted out here first thing in the morning as we have started this qualifying session. I apologize, giving them a couple of practice laps before we start this session. You can actually see the chalk there of where they will line up. There's a good look at pit road as well. That will play a part here. My understanding that the qualifiers for I believe the Nitro buggy category will be 10 minutes in length, and electric cars 8.
That is correct. Yep, the Open Nitro buggy class will be 10 minutes in length. The electric class will be 8 minutes. And then, of course, when we get to our invite guys, they're actually running laps instead of time. So I believe they're going to run 30-lap qualifier races today, and then we'll see them in their 60-lap main events tomorrow for the 3 main events.
Yeah, and the invite guys did get a quick little practice session out here a little bit earlier.
And it looks like race number 1 here, our Open Nitro buggy. We are off and underway. These drivers, everybody is on their own individual race clock. So while these guys are physically on the track together, they're racing the clock. They're not trying to race each other. So when they get around each other, you'll see these guys kind of give each other a little bit of room. They're not trying to take one another out and that kind of thing. They're trying to keep this as fair as possible, but each driver's on their own clock, and it doesn't start until they cross the starting line. So it looks like the first few drivers on the clock here in this one. Blake Everett, he's underway. Graham Hill, Scott Brewer, Will Walker, Robert Chapman, the rest of the field getting underway as well.
Definitely my first outing here, my first experience with this discipline of racing. Very cool, very complex cars. infinite adjustability to these vehicles. The driver's extremely talented, but I've already been caught off guard. I thought they were going to line everybody up in a qualifying group and launch them as it would be in a race. Clearly not the case here.
And we will see that. We're going to see some heads-up racing in the invite qualifying, but it looks like the open buggy Nitro qualifying, we're going with a more traditional RC format, which I'm going to say I've been in this sport for a very, very long time, and it's still confusing me sometimes. So.
Well, I'm very easily confused, so if it confuses you, we're in trouble. But yeah, so I get it. So they'll have their predetermined amount of time at the end of this session. Whoever has the best lap average, if I understand this correctly, for the entire time of the session is your number one qualifier.
So basically, the goal here is to turn as many laps in as short amount of time in the 10-minute session. So, for instance, right now we're looking at Will Walker. He's out front right now. He's on a 27-lap pace on a 10:14 finish time. Second place, we got Robert Chapman. He's only on a 26-lap pace on a 10:03 finish time. So it's a lap to time pace is how this is basically set, and that'll set them up for the main events. Again, all the main events are going to be heads up. That'll be more traditional racing style.
Yeah, and that 27-lap pace has already fallen. Now Graham Hill at the top of the chart with a 26-lap pace at a 10-minute flat. Let's see if he can squeeze that in. As you talked about before, the number one qualifier here receives a check for $1,000 and will bump up into the back of the invite category.
That is correct. And so basically what we're going to do here is after this first round, we've got 2 heats of open Nitro buggies. The best, the top fastest time, the top driver out of those 2 heats, that will be the driver that gets the $1,000. So it's not necessarily the winner of this heat. It's the best combined time and laps from the 2 heats. And that driver will go straight up the invite, grab $1,000, and he'll be running with the best in the nation.
Understand. So, and how many qualifying sessions will each group get here? Will they get a total of 3 here today?
We'll do 3 today. Yep. Looks like on the track here, Graham Hill, the mechanic for Techno RC's Jared Tebow, leading us out here in this one. 27 at a 10:19 pace right now. His fast lap at 21.812. Yesterday, Ken, we saw some laps down in the 20-second range. And haven't seen that yet here this morning, but the track's kind of still coming in. The sun's coming up. These guys are still waking up maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we were watching them practice a little bit. It just looked like the track was a little bit freer, a little bit looser. Also, a number of holes have developed out here. They certainly are taking care of the track, but they're letting the track kind of grow its own character, if you will. So you've got to find some setup, and you've got to learn how to drive around some of the stuff that's out here.
Yeah, and a lot of this track is going to change, that's for sure, especially as they continue to throw down a little bit of water and do a little bit of prep here and there. The track's going to get rougher, the track's going to get grooved in, and these guys are just going to continue to get faster and faster.
See a puff of smoke there out of those cars. That will come back to tuning as well. So back to what I was referring to a moment ago, as that one goes for a pretty big tumble right there. Very tough vehicles we might throw in there. Good timing for that one, right? But we see a couple of these cars really puffing some smoke here, and that'll come back to tuning. Some of these things, when you see a lot of smoke, they're rich, and they basically run as a two-stroke engine. So you don't want them to be too rich. You get fat, and you start slowing down, and you lose some power.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, they've been fighting tuning just because of the extreme temperatures we've had this weekend. And, that's going to be a big part in this one, especially as it gets hotter and hotter today. And it's humid outside as well, so that's going to play a part in it too. There we see, I believe this is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, Will Walker. He's sitting in that, he was in that 4th place spot. That lap right there dropped him down to the 6th place spot. Robert Chapman leading the way here. 10-minute races, as you can see, these guys have to make a pit stop to refuel. A lot of these guys can go up to 7.5 minutes, possibly 8 minutes on a good day. Oh, tumbling there. I believe that's Scott Brewer. On a good day, they can 7.5, 8 minutes. But pit strategy, they get in some traffic, and they like to come in a little bit early, get a clear track ahead of them. And this is it's a fast track, 22-second lap times with a lot of cars out there. There's going to be traffic pretty much all the way around the track.
Yeah, really interesting. And of course, that pace average is going to fall down as soon as they come in and make that pit stop. And we'll try to, I do know that timing and scoring will give us a delta of what it takes, how much time it takes to come in and pit one of these things and get them back out on the track, because at this point, even during the qualifying, it is a critical time loss.
And it also just goes to show, I mean, this is especially for the Nitro guys coming in for the pit stops, it's a team effort. You know, all these guys, they're lined up with their mechanics, and the mechanics have a big part in this, and they got a big role to play as well. Make sure they get the cars in, get them out, make sure the cars, obviously the engines stay running, and if something does happen in pit lane while they are refueling or whatever, get those cars started, get them right back out on the track, and get them back to racing.
Yeah, and we touched on this yesterday, the communication between the mechanic on pit road and the driver. The driver clearly focused on the car 100%, so not necessarily paying attention to the clock of knowing just how much time he's been out there on the track. So up to the mechanic to get in touch with that driver who's standing up behind them at a higher level to let them know, hey man, it's time to pit and get that car in here before we run out of fuel.
It looks like 3 minutes left to go here in this one. Graham Hill, the Techno RC driver and mechanic for Jared Tebow in the invite class. He is still leading us out here at a 26 at a 10-11 pace. Scott Brewer in that number 2 spot. Robert Chapman in the 3 spot. Katie Roxbury. Katie Roxbury, the girlfriend to Jared Wiggins in the invite class. She's trying to fight her way up with the boys here and see if she can't earn her own way into the invite class.
Good look at Graham Hill's car right there. Flew that one nicely. Beautiful looking machine. Does hit the second step on the step up there. Tough right-hander.
As they head onto the backside here, Graham's now, he's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him.
Oh,
that worked out well for Graham. He's got a clear track ahead of him now with 2:20 to go.
Tight 180 right there, and that is effectively what we'll call turn 2. And we've talked about that during the start. We'll find out just how that works out for these guys, but could really bunch things up at the start of these races.
And Graham right now.
Would you call this a technical course for the drivers?
I would say so.
It's a short bull ring, right?
It is. It is indeed. A lot of times in the track for an 8-scale buggy race, looking at usually at some longer lap times up in the high 30s, 40s, 50 seconds, sometimes even a minute lap time. And for these guys to be running 22-second lap times, that's a pretty fast track. And you mix in the roughness of it, and this has got an all-around track. It's a technical track. It's a rough track. The conditions are ever changing. These guys got their hands full this weekend. They're going to have to earn their money, that's for sure.
For the fans that are tuning in, if you're wondering what we will see throughout the course of the day here, we have an invite class and the invite drivers that are here, and they are world ranked. And we're talking about the absolute best in the world are here to do battle. 11 of them all ranked inside of the top 38 in the world, and a number of them ranked inside of the top 10. Mayfield ranked number 1 right now, and we've got guys ranked 4th and ranked 6th. So we'll see the best of the best out here in just a little bit. And, of course, everybody battling for very, very legitimate money here that will take place in for the invite category in 3A mains tomorrow, basically like a triple header, if you will, for the Supercross division. So Moto 1, Moto 2, Moto 3, and each one of those with a $1,500 payday. If you can sweep them, there's a $5,000 bonus. If you win the overall, it's $5,000. There's a lot of money on the line out here as we watch one going for a crazy ride right there and stuck to landing.
Graham Hill right there just showing some of the control that you can have. Hit that pipe there on the outside line and threw the car sideways. He was able to just adjust the wheels the right way and turn that car, rotate it right back around and landed back where he needed to be.
Pretty cool, huh? So, yeah, an exciting day ahead, an exciting race weekend. 2 cars just got together right down there in turn number 9. Final turn on this track.
Yeah, it looks like that is Graham Hill there. He may have been the one to get caught up. That last time by, he had a 25-second lap. Fastest lap on the track so far in this race is Trevor Michalesco with a 21-1. He's, however, sitting in that number 6 spot. Graham Hill right now, he's looking to try and win this heat race and set the early fast time. We got one more heat to go here for round 1 of qualifying in our open Nitro buggy class. There you see Graham finishing up, coming backwards through pit lane.
And that'll wrap up the session. Congratulations to Graham Hill, as he'll stand atop of this group, followed up by Scott Brewer and Robert Chapman inside of the top 3.
Another stacked group of these guys here for Open Nitro Buggy going to be coming up next, and then we'll see our first $1,000 payday winner.
Katie Roxbury inside of the top 5, and Will Walker to round out the top 5. And there's a look at the final order.
Yeah, Graham Hill topping this one here in heat number 1. Scott Brewer second. Robert Chapman third. Katie Roxbury fourth. Will Walker fifth. Trevor Mekalisko sixth. And Blake Everett finished up in that number 7 spot. Here for Open Nitro Buggy heat number 1 from Visions.
Quick little highlights reel here of what we just saw in this first qualifier. Some wicked air as we talk about the setup of these cars. You mentioned that they can burn a set of tires off of these guys pretty quickly as well. And our buddy Scotty Ernst has been busy all weekend long. He is up top with one of our drivers. Scotty, who do you have, bud?
Very much, Ken. We're here with Graham Hill, who just had a fantastic first round of qualifying driving at Techno. Take us through that run quick.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is our first time out here at the Mid-America Visions Off-Road Race. This is the first track that we've raced that's kind of this similar setup. So, yeah, I just kind of got out clean, just tried to do my laps. We've been doing 10-minute qualifiers this weekend. Typically, we do a 6 or a 5-minute qualifying session, so a little bit longer. So you just got to really limit your mistakes and keep it on all fours.
You had a really good run, fast 26-lap run. You're in the running here for $1,000. That's got to be a pretty unique feeling we rarely see in RC.
Yeah, we don't come to many of these things where a racer at my level has that kind of money on the line, so it definitely gives you a little bit extra incentive to put in the work. You know, make sure the car's 100% and go out there and drive the best that you can. It's a pretty unique event, and couldn't thank the guys that put on this event, Live RC, Visions, all those guys behind the scenes enough to do this for us.
Well done, and maybe I'll be calling you back up in 10 minutes to crown you round 1 champion and give you $1,000.
Thank you.
All right, well done. There's Graham Hill. He had a good first run. We'll see if he's going to be able to hold on to that and earn $1,000.
Thanks a lot, Scotty. Wish him the best of luck. A lot of tough competition out there in that open category, and we'll take a look at some more of those. Here, once again, Q1 second group, an Open Nitro Buggy. 8th scale cars, you mentioned that in the previous round. And to give the fans at home, if they're not familiar with this, what are some other options? Certainly 10th scales out there, I know, but what are some other options for people that want to get into this sport?
Sure, we've got the 10th scale cars, a good shot here of our A-Main Tri-Me track. You see some of the short course trucks up there. Those are usually the 10th scales. They've got everything all the way down to 12th scale, 18th scale. You can run them in your house. I mean, you know, it varies. They also have all the way in the opposite direction, up to 5th scale, which actually run on just pure gasoline, straight gas, 4-stroke engines, right from the gas station, filled up just like a weed eater, basically a weed eater motor, and they race those as well. So any form of RC racing, it's kind of like anything. We can make a race out of it, that's for sure. But this weekend, we're focused on all the 8-scale vehicles, the 8-scale buggies. We've got Nitro buggies and electric-powered buggies here this weekend. Right now, we're looking at our Open Nitro Buggy Heat number 2 as they take the track for their warm-up session here. We got some heavy hitters in this one. We got Fee Long Nguyen, I believe, is the youngest racer here this weekend, and Fee is one of those drivers. Only a few short years ago, he was found in the Sportsman class, and he has quickly made a name for himself and is running up here with some of the best.
How many, these guys will travel the country, just FYI for those at home as well. There are players inside of this invitational category that are making 6 figures a year competing and driving around. They actually travel the world doing what they do. But how many events typically for a competitive Open Nitro Buggy racer, how many events will they attend a year?
You know, I would say it's going to vary kind of by region, honestly, on Nitro Buggy. In particular, the West Coast guys, they can run where the weather stays good throughout the wintertime. They can run Nitro Buggies year-round, so they'll have 2 races a month, you know, or even more than that, possibly with just some of their local racing and that. You get more back on the East Coast or up north in the winter months, those guys will go indoors. They'll start racing the 10 scale, the smaller electric-powered cars indoors throughout the wintertime. And if you want to race a lot of these local tracks for these guys, they'll race 2 times a week. You know, and these guys are making a living racing their RC cars in the invite class, and they put in the work, that's for sure. It's just like any form of motorsports racing. They are constantly at the track testing, tuning, trying new stuff, traveling to their manufacturers, working. for R&D just around the clock. And like anything, it becomes a job. You know, I mean, these guys take it very serious in what they do, and they do a good job of it.
Very exciting stuff for sure. Very cool cars, as we've talked about before. Approximately 0.2 cc's, I believe, is the size of the engine, producing 2.8 to 3 horsepower, if you're curious about that stuff. However, turning some wicked RPMs, upwards of 40,000 RPM these things turn, and there's a little blunder right off of pit road, unfortunately.
That's definitely not how you want to start out, that's for sure.
Let's get that out of the way now.
And it looks like this race is underway. All these drivers getting on the clock here in this one. And we'll let them all get a few laps in, and we'll see how it sorts out. Tyler Hooks coming around there for lap number 1, the 21.7 right out of the gate. He's going to be our early race leader here in this one.
Yeah, I liked exactly what you just said there. Give the guys a couple of laps, kind of get a feel for it. Then they hit start on the clock, and the 10 minutes begins. We're on it right now, and one qualifier in the books. Looking at the second one here, and a big moment for one of these guys. I mean, to get into the back of that invitational field and a chance to race against the best in the world, and if you can have a good showing there, who knows?
Absolutely. So Graham Hill right now, out of that last heat, his finish pace was a 26 at a 10:05. You got to beat that time to be above Graham Hill and have a shot at that $1,000. And right now, Caden Fuller, the HB Racing driver, comes around with a 21.14. Only 2 laps into this one, he's on a 29-lap pace. Now, as you mentioned earlier, Ken, it's going to drop when they come in for their pit stop, which they normally in qualifying don't have to do. They usually run 5 to 6 minute qualifiers, but here this weekend we're running 10-minute qualifiers. These guys will have to make a pit stop.
Yeah, but I am impressed. We didn't see any of these numbers in that first group at all. We didn't see 28s and 29s, and we have three on a 28-lap pace here. I think what you said before, the track starting to come in, that 29-lap pace already has fallen to 28. But I do think we're going to see a little bit quicker group, and it quite possibly is this track coming in as the sun continues to work on it.
It's very likely. It's very likely. Ethan Mechanic, we saw him yesterday in the practice sessions. He's kind of a silent killer out there. He silently comes in, does his thing. He's not super flashy, and then boom, lays down some fast laps, and he's doing that right now. Caden Fuller drops that number 2 spot. Tyler Hooks in the number 3 spot. Now Fee Long Win, again, the youngest driver here this weekend. And I'd like to, we may have to catch up with him in the pits a little later on. Him and his dad making the trip here this weekend.
Yeah, and take a look at the top 4 guys, all in that 28-lap pace. But look at the times, the splits, how close they are. I mean, 10:08, a 10:08, a 10:14, a 10:10. So, I mean, they are all splitting hairs as we take a look at them right now. And it's all going to continue to change here.
And it looks like this is Fee Long Win here that we're following around, as he is sitting in that number 2 spot, chasing down. Now he takes over that number 1 spot. Oh, a little tumble there, lands back on his wheels. Fee Long Win with a 21 flat there. He's on a 28 at a 10:06 pace. If he can set that time right there, if he can finish up with that pace, not only will little Fee take $1,000, he'll be going into the invite class as well.
By the way, at Visions Off-Road RC, you can keep up with all the live timing and scoring real time. Take a look at exactly what we're watching as well and see just how close these competitors are. Quickest lap we've seen so far here in the 21-second zone here again at 21.07, 21.08 for Wynn, who's sitting atop the board. Now a 20.95 out of Braxton Cully, so certainly has the speed, but you got to string them together for 10 minutes here.
Yeah, absolutely right. There's a great shot there in the bottom right side of the screen of young Fee racing up there with all the adults and the older kids. And Fee, one of the only drivers using a stick-style radio. Most drivers use the traditional trigger and wheel style. Here in America, the stick radios are not very common here. They're more a European thing, and there you see Fee right there. He's doing his magic, and he's making that stick radio work real well for him. See, he's got the headset on. He's got his dad down in pit lane. His dad's his mechanic. In his ear, able to help him out as much as possible, kind of guide him along the way, and obviously bring him in for fuel when he needs to make that pit stop, which is coming up here pretty soon, I would imagine.
Very cool for sure, and we still have 4 competitors on a 28-lap pace. As you talked about, 5 minutes, about 5.5 minutes to go in this session, so 4.5 complete. So still plenty of time yet before they would actually need to come in But as you also talked about, the strategy is, for example, if you're right behind a competitor there in front of you, maybe this is the lap that you want to come in and fuel up, get yourself some good clean track to go back out on.
Yeah, it looks like that was Phoebe there with Braxton Coley right behind him. I believe this here is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, Austin Wick as they start working their way around. This may be Ethan Mechanic as he comes down the front straight. That is Ethan Mechanic in that number 2 spot. Ethan coming around with a 22.1 that time by. Ethan trying to put in some consistent laps as well. And a rough track like this, and one mistake can really throw that pace off, especially on this short of a track. So these guys got to keep it consistent and smooth as much as possible, which is not an easy task on this track. There you see Mechanic coming into pit lane.
Come down and does not take him very long. That's it right there. I mean, just jab that fuel gun in there, and right off the bat, it gets hung up a little bit, but does a good job to get in front of another competitor, and now has that clean track that we were speaking of before to start stringing these things together. But a quick little hit of that fuel gun, and boom, it's ready to rock.
Yeah, it looked like Mechanic that time by had a 7.169 pit stop. So just over 6 seconds for him. However, look at Fee Long Win's pit time. Pit on the last lap, a 6.2. So almost a full second faster in just the pits there for Fee Long Win.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And we thank Brandon Rohde and the entire production group here for giving us such great information. Not often you, at this level of racing, would you get a pit speed delta or a pit time delta, if you will, to find out what it's going to cost you. And they'll back into that strategy as well, certainly for the race.
Well, take a look there. Look at how the pit times have changed. Everything is now Caden Fuller, after all the pit stops are said and done, has taken over that number 1 spot. Fee Long Win has dropped to the number 2 spot. Ethan Mechanic now working his way up into the 2 spot. Win drops to the 3 spot.
So important, of course. That is always the big. That's the final slay, if you will, is whenever they come in and make that pit stop and lose that time. Who does it better is certainly can change everything. It's going to change that total time. Then get back out here and rip as long as you can. Still another 3 minutes here. Anything can happen. Anybody makes a mistake and you nail a couple of perfect ones, you're right back up in the hunt.
Well, there's Caden Fuller. It looks like time of scoring showing him with a 55-second lap. I don't know if something happened where he came off the track, came back on, or perhaps a transponder didn't count for a lap there, so we'll have to sort that out and see. But right now it's showing Ethan Mechanic out front. Now Fee back to the front here in this one. Some close racing. There you see Caden Fuller pushing his way through traffic. He's letting them know, I'm coming through. Caden Fuller, the younger brother to Mason Fuller, who's in the invite class already. Both of them the HP Racing drivers out of Nebraska.
Saw a number of guys out there at the end of the day yesterday checking ride height for these vehicles. You see them go out there and drop the cars, let them settle in. They actually have a little ride height tool as well. Certainly very critical out here on this track, as you can see this developing some sizable ruts and holes.
Yeah, these guys will make tiny adjustments in ride height, front and rear. I mean, mere millimeter differences, and you can definitely change and alter how a car handles and feels all the way around the track with just very small changes, and ride height is a big one for these guys. Yeah,
no ride height rule, by the way, out here for this particular division here on the dirt. The guys that are on the asphalt, they do have some rules from what I understand. Some are around 11 millimeters and actually gets to 5 millimeters for some of the categories as well, so they can really get these things down on the ground, but not the case here.
There we're looking at Tyler Hooks, Live RC's very own, as he works his way coming around. He's here driving the new Mugen buggy this weekend. He just made the switch. This is his first race with the new car. He's been with Techno RC for a long time. They're bumping that inside tube.
I thought he had it nailed perfectly. I mean, you saw him back it into the turn. I thought it was going to drift out just far enough to miss the tube, but did not. He clipped it just a little bit.
Well, not looking too bad here with a brand new car. Still trying to get the feel for it. He comes back around on the right-hand side. He's sitting at number 5 spot here in this one with a minute left to go in this race.
Really nice-looking lap stuff there. And look at the setup for the apex, and that left-hander did it again. You can see him hit those jumps and get the attitude of the car aimed in there and catches a hole. Gets a little lucky break there, though. It still aims in the proper direction and lands on all fours.
Well, Ken, we saw yesterday some of these guys, the holes, it's not a matter of skill in missing the holes. The holes will reach up and grab just about anybody. They don't care if you're a top pro or a sportsman level driver. The holes are an obstacle and a competition of its own that you're trying to fight against here in this one.
Again, getting this sorted out and stringing together some really nice laps. And big airtime there on this back straightaway coming to the final turn. Back into turn 1, turn 2 right there, coming into turn 3 to give you a visual. This would be turn 4, up to the step up, into turn 5, basically a 180 on a 9-turn track.
And there's Fee-Long Win here as time has expired here in this qualifier. These guys going to finish up their final laps. Fee right now is on a 28-lap run. If he can hold on to this here for this final lap, he is not only going to be the fastest qualifier here in Open Nitro Buggy for round number 1, he's going to the invite class and $1,000. Here he comes down across the line. We'll see what his finish time is going to be. Fee-Long Win, a 28:10:13. He has done it. Young Fee, $1,000 in his pocket, and he's going to the invite class.
Yeah, we saw Graham Hill before, just to put everything in perspective, at a 26:10:05. So that is the difference as you take a look at Fee-Long Win. Congratulations to that young man, and what an awesome opportunity. I think something that was going to happen one way or the other. He certainly has the talent, if he sticks with it, to move up and become one of those drivers worthy of being in an invitational class. So he's going to have a shot at it tomorrow.
Absolutely. And how many other, I don't actually know if he's 8 or 9, but I'm going to say he's right in that range. How many other 8 or 9-year-olds this weekend are hanging out at an off-road park? They're going to get $1,000. I mean, how many toys can you buy with $1,000?
Right, exactly.
He has had a good weekend.
And not to mention his future laying right in front of him now. If he continues on this path, for sure one of the best in the world if he just keeps working at the skill.
Yeah, Fee-Long Win taking the win there in this heat and the overall going into the invite class. Ethan Mechanic for the heat will take second. Braxton Culley third. Austin Wick fourth. Tyler Hooks fifth. Caden Fuller, Camden Lime, and Joshua Vigil rounding out your field.
And you take a look there as they put some water down on the track, try and take care of this thing all day long. It is no easy task. We go back and show you some highlights here of Fee-Long Win. And that step up, we've seen a number of the invitational guys actually clear that step up. Looks like the open competitors choosing to hit it here so far today. And again, changing track conditions could play a role in that as well. Exciting moment for that young driver. I'm sure Scotty's doing his best to try and get a hold of the young man as well. And it looks like he is standing down there with Scotty. Scotty Ernst with our young competitor that's going to jump up and take on the best in the world. Scotty. Technical issues there apparently. Scotty not quite ready, or maybe did not hear the throw. We'll cover for him for a bit.
Good shot here though. The background you can see here at Mid-America Outdoors, so many events going on this weekend. It's a hot one, but it's been a fantastic weekend. We did a little cruise yesterday just around the park, and there is a lot to see, a lot going on, and the RC Racing, obviously new to the Visions event here this year, and it's already kicked off with a bang.
Nothing better than that beautiful sight right there. Old Glory flying proudly out here at Mid-America Outdoors. Spectacular complex here, as we mentioned before. You come in, everything paved. There's a wash station for the side-by-sides or the bigger cars. There's a look at the side-by-sides, by the way, that are out here competing this weekend as well. A number of races yesterday. They'll have their mains that start here a little bit later on tonight. Some incredible concerts that are going on here tonight as well, including Buck Cherry, but a number of bands that are here on site. You and Brittany had a chance to see, your wife Brittany had a chance to see the pool here. From what I understand, a massive pool, a lazy river. I mean, something for everybody. It's just a lot of fun.
Everything from, they've got a pro shop up there. They've got restaurants. They've got food trucks, pit bike racing, four-wheelers. I mean, it is amazing. And some of the attendance here this weekend from some of the major companies in the off-road industry is fantastic to see, and it makes it really cool. It's definitely a motorsports enthusiast dream to be here this weekend, and we're definitely happy to be here on part of the RC.
Good look at Ryan Lutz there as he was walking back. Gave us some GoPro action at the end of yesterday. We'll edit that up and get it to you as well. Have you so you can take a look. And in the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break here. A lot more racing coming your way from Mid-America Outdoors. Stay with us. And once again, we are back here at this beautiful complex known as Mid-America Outdoors. We're in Jay, Oklahoma, which is just about an hour or so outside of Tulsa. If you're close by, you're welcome to come out here. Here's a look at our Open Nitro buggy qualifying. The number one player there, Filong Wen, congratulations to him. Unfortunately, was not able to grab an interview with him. We had a technical issue, but grabs $1,000 and has earned the bump up, if you will, into the back of the invitational field where he'll be competing against the world-class drivers out here. So we look forward to see how the young man does. He has to be very excited, but, man, he's going to walk out of here with $1 grand in his pocket no matter what.
Yeah, you got to be excited about that. And awesome young man, great talent, and very happy to see him move on, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the invite class.
And by the way, he's the only guy on the property as it stands right now who has a shot at winning $15,500.
That is correct. That is correct. As of right now, he is the only one, and I tell you what, I wouldn't put it past him to do just that.
Of course, it would take a spectacular day. He would have to sweep all 3 A mains tomorrow to get that done. That's not going to be an easy task, but he does have the shot at it, and nobody else does. So we'll see how that plays out as we take a look at our Open E-buggy category. These are electric-powered vehicles. The qualifier here is 8 minutes long. It'll start in about a minute, so giving them some practice laps here as well before they start the clock.
Yeah, so we're moving on to our electric division here. Electric-powered instead of nitro-powered. Things quiet down just a little bit, but I tell you what, these are some fast cars. Only running 8 minutes. That's a typical on a battery pack. 8 minutes is about as much as you want to run with an 8-scale electric buggy. Some guys can push it to maybe 10, maybe 12, but just to keep it safe, you don't want to overdo it with the batteries and the electronics and the electric motors and all that. That's the best way to tear some stuff up. So keep it at 8 minutes. That's probably the best decision here for these guys. They will not obviously have to make a pit stop of any sort. And there you see Sean Miller, one of our track crew workers. We just saw him out watering the track. He puts down the water hose, picks up the radio, and heads up on the driver's stand to do a little racing himself.
Nickname Sexy Leg. Yeah, if you didn't catch that before, that's awesome. A great sense of humor there as a good guy helping us keep control of this track. So good stuff. Big smile on his face, having a great time. By the way, Joey Christensen, the man behind this track, he and Aaron Webb giving us a beautiful racetrack here to compete on this weekend.
Yeah, those guys have been they built a lot of tracks for a lot of years, and I don't think I've ever seen one that copied another. I mean, the artistic ability that those guys put into building racetracks is incredible, and they definitely have a talent like no other, that's for sure. Looks like we got Braxton Culley back up in this one. We just saw him in that last one, so he's literally putting down the nitro car and coming right back out with the electric car. So Braxton may use that to his advantage, getting a little track time. We'll see how he sets up here in electric buggy. Looks like this race is off and underway as these drivers are getting on the clock here in this one.
And for those at home that might be thinking about getting into the game here and trying to make a decision, the Nitro cars sound so cool, maybe that's what I want. You look at the electric car and you think, maybe it's not as fast. As you take a look at Sean Miller here once again, and but not the case. I mean, we weren't here through the second session yesterday, but through the end of the first session, the electric cars actually were the quickest ones on the track by a small margin. So they are extremely competitive, very, very fast. And you mentioned it yesterday, quite possibly just a bit easier as well because there's no tuning involved in terms of the engine itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically it's the same exact platform, the same exact car as a Nitro car, except you're taking out the engine, you're taking out the fuel aspect and the tuning and all of that you got to do. You're throwing an electric motor and a battery, so it's a little bit cleaner, a little less maintenance, a little easier to get into, and it's a great time. And obviously, like you're talking about as far as speed goes, I would argue that, a lot of these times, the way these cars are set up, you can get an electric car to go a lot faster than a Nitro car. And so still a great time, even though they don't make the noise and fill the air with the sweet smell of Nitro fuel. Still a great way to get into RC racing, and a little bit less frustrating for newcomers.
And as we talk about the complexities of the setup of these cars and how adjustable they are, from the dampers to the springs, the differentials, the different viscosity of oil, I have to think that possibly the battery pack itself being located in the center of this car on the bottom, giving it a nice low CG, quite possibly helps in some of that speed.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's you'll also see a lot of these guys, if they run, say, 8-scale electric indoors, they'll run a smaller battery pack, a low profile. Some guys, for the outdoors, you'll run bigger packs so you can run longer amounts of time. That's a whole other tuning option for these guys as well.
As we continue on here, the clock officially running here, so we are well into this session. We've got about 5 minutes left out of the 8-minute session that you were talking about before. Up top right now is Sean Miller on a 22-lap pace in 8 minutes, 8.07 to be exact, as he actually lowers that just a tick. But 3 cars at the top of the field right now on that 22-lap pace, all in the 8-minute range here, 8.07, 8.11, and 8.12. Very, very tight.
Yeah, some very close racing here. We saw yesterday in the seating practice, tenths and thousandths of, trouble there for Sean as he comes up short there. Goes end over end, upside down. That's going to allow, I believe, Jacob Vigil up into that number 1 spot. And it does, the 22.810. But as we saw yesterday, thousandths and 10,000ths of a second separating these guys on the seating practices yesterday.
So Jacob Vigil up at the top now.
Oh, and I believe that might be Vigil there making a mistake rolling over. He's going to hand it right
what a
back.
Shame.
Yeah. Robert Chapman may be able to capitalize on this. Robert Chapman, he was hanging in that number 3 spot. He's now worked his way up to the number 2 spot. We may find himself up top, and he
there
does.
It is.
Yep, Robert Chapman, now your race leader here in this one, a 22.810 pace here in qualifying.
But again, I mean, anybody can make any sort of bobble like we've seen both of those guys do. And this will all change again. Sean Miller, matter of fact, back up into second. Jacob Vigil now dropped down to third. You talked about Chapman bumping up into the number 1 slot. Here comes Trevor Michaelesco as he moves up a spot as well. Vigil loses one and falls down to 4th. Michaelesco with a time of 21.166. Quickest lap of the session.
And Chapman out front here in this one. Fast lap on the track at 21.1 there, as you had just mentioned. Trevor sneaking his way up to the number 3 spot. He may be able to work his way up to that number 2 spot as him and Sean Miller pretty close on times right now. 3 minutes left to go here in this one.
Yeah, about 7 seconds between those guys, between first and third, based on the time there. 8:12 to 8:18 now. It was 8:19. Chapman still up top.
And this is Robert Chapman here as he comes down the front stretch. Back into the infield. Comes up a little bit short there. Track starting to really take a beating, especially that step up. Those guys not jumping or bouncing right into the face of it, and you get enough cars doing that, and that hole's going to get deeper and deeper and make that even more of a challenge here for these guys.
Yeah, and the actual lift part of the step up is already really taking its toll.
Oh, good line there for Robert Chapman. Kind of clipped the top there, just set him up just fine for the corner.
Watch him air it out here. Set the nose for the right-hander. Beautiful job there, the final turn. And right back around to turn number 1 and 2 on some good laps here, putting them together.
Yeah, Robert here in heat number 1. He'll look to set that early fast time for our open e-buggy class. We got 2 more heats of these drivers for round 1 of qualifying. Going to be coming up next after these guys. Robert getting a little bit loose there. Has to back out of it just a bit as he comes back around here. 22 and an 8:13 his pace. Back into the infield. Now Sean Miller closing that gap up on him. They are less than a second apart at this point.
Yeah, Chapman was at an 8:12, so lost just a tick. Miller picks up just a tick, and as you just mentioned, consequently really closes the gap. Now exactly a second between the two.
And, of course, we can't count out right now Michael Esco. He's only 2 seconds back from them, a second and a half back from them at this point. It's anybody's race here with a minute left to go here for e-buggy, heat number 1.
Yeah, and he was at 8:19, so he is slowly closing that gap as well to get right up here with the leaders. Great battle here in this qualifier number 1 for Open E-buggy.
And Ken, you pointed out yesterday that a lot of success here this weekend is going to be who's the most consistent, who can keep the car on the wheels. And I think that's going to play a part in this one. I think Michalesko right now, he may not be turning the fastest laps we've seen on the track, but consistency is definitely in his favor if you look at his lap times. Robert Chapman taking a little tumble there, comes up a little bit short. 25 seconds left to go here in this race. Robert Chapman out front on a 22 at an 8:13 pace. Fast lap on the track is actually Braxton Culley, a 21.092. However, Braxton running there back there in that number 7 spot. Timing and scoring showing him with a 55-second lap early on in this race. And I'm not sure if he had an issue to start out the race or a transponder issue there. But he had a rough start to this one, but it looks like he's putting it all back together here towards the end.
Clock has ended. We are past the 8-minute mark. And from what we can see here, it looks like Trevor Michalesko is going to jump up to the top of the group. How about that? Right at the very end, just eclipses Robert Chapman. Oh, so close. About 0.2 of a second. It ticks a tick less than that, to be honest with you, on a pace of 22.814 to a 22.814. Are the times still changing here?
And yeah, it looked like Robert there had one more lap to go, so he just finished up there with an 8:15 on that last lap with a 23-second lap.
Gotcha. So as long as you cross the stripe and you saw that last lap working, you're allowed to complete that lap. So a pace of 22.814.57 for Michalesko, and Chapman ends up in second at a pace of 22.815.34. Great battle.
And those two drivers, the only two to get in the 22-second lap range there. Jacob Vigil with a 21.804, so 4 seconds off a 22-lap run for him. Sean Miller in that number 4 spot. Braxton Culley in the 5. Brewer and Hinojosa rounding out your top 7. Noon and Camden Lime off the track early there in that one. As you see, a good look there at our Tekin track cam.
And once again, we're going to try to get it to our buddy Scotty Ernst. Scotty.
We're here with Trevor Michalesko from Illinois, driving a Team Associated chassis. First one's under your belt. That was a really good run. Tell us about it.
Thank you. Recently, I've been struggling in e-buggy, and I've been trying to figure it out. And this one, I had a slow start, and around halfway, I started pushing it. Since I knew I was getting close to the lead, so I started pushing it.
With the intense heat they have here and things like that, is run time at all a concern for you?
Oh, no, not really. My really electronics stay cool most of the time.
All right, well, best of luck here. Getting ready for the next round. Congratulations.
Thanks, Scotty.
All right. So a good first run here for Trevor, getting it ready for round number 2.
Thanks a lot, Scotty. Great job by that young man. Of course, there's some real players inside of this e-buggy category, so we are far from done here, including our invitational drivers.
Absolutely. A good look at here at the driver's stand, and there you see Ty Tessman, multi-time IFMAR world champion in the e-buggy group. A lot of our invite drivers, as you mentioned, are going to be in the electric division as well, getting a little extra track time. There you see Tyler Hooks as well lined up. There's a good look at the ProTech RC pit lane cam. Obviously, pit lane not really used here for these electric drivers, but their mechanics and supporters down there still in pit lane. Keep an eye on the cars, spotting for them and helping them out where they can.
Hats off to our corner workers as well. We appreciate all of their support, as do the drivers. You'll see those guys standing all around the track as they the drivers have some trouble from time to time and flip them over, and the corner workers will immediately get out there and help them out. Looked like one was sitting over there out of power, possibly. Oh, going again now.
Believe this is Ty Tessman as he's working his way around here for a couple warm-up laps before this race goes live. Tessman yesterday in the E-buggy qualifying found himself struggling just a little bit, but we all know Ty Tessman, and he obviously has the talent, the skill, and the knowledge to get it done. So him and Gord are here this weekend, the X-Ray vehicles. Gord is father and also mechanic. They've been working hard behind the scenes to get these cars dialed in right where they want them. And looking right now at our open E-buggy on the track here in this one, we got Fee Long Win, Austin Wick, Ty Tessman, Caden Fuller, Garrett Martin, Ethan Mechanic, Tanner Denny, Tyler Hooks, and Joshua Vigil coming up here in this one.
Yeah, so a couple of the invitational drivers inside of this one, including Tanner Denny and Ty Tessman. Ty ranked 7th in the world coming into this event. Tanner 22nd.
Tanner Denny making the switch to S-Works here this year. A new car for him, and so far it's been working well for him.
And the guys look like they will hang out here and wait for the clock to start, and it starts now. 8 minutes to go.
That's going to be Garrett Martin there in the white Techno buggy. First one getting on the starting his clock. Everybody else making their way around as well here for Open E-buggy heat number 2. We got one more heat to go. This next heat coming up after this one, that's going to be pretty much full of our invite drivers that are running the electric class as well.
Good looking cars. Curious to see where some of these guys end up now as, wow, how about that? A quick pass. Looking for some clean track.
Yeah, I believe that there is going to be Austin Wick. Oh, getting up on 2 wheels. Good save for Austin. They come back around down the start straight there. Austin Wick, 22, second lap for him. We saw Fee Long win. Obviously taking the $1,000 and going straight to the invite class out of Open Nitro Buggy. He's back up here in the E-buggy class. We'll see what he can do here with this one.
Yeah, very early on in this session here as we watch him, but we saw our winner last time around at a 22 second pace. I'm sorry, 22 lap pace, and already a bunch of 23s here on the top of the board.
Yeah, and right now Tyler Hooks on the clock is leading us out here in this one. Ty Tessman in that number 2 spot. Tyler Hooks, of course, a 10 scale 17.5 stock buggy national champion. Ty Tessman, a multi-time 8 scale IFMAR world champion. Tessman now taking over the number 1 spot. Ethan Mechanic into the number 2 spot. Caden Fuller to the 3 spot now. We're looking at Ty Tessman as he works his way around driving the X-Ray buggy.
Bang, man, just whack the initial lift of that step up. I love the way they fly off that big jump coming out of turn number 8 into turn number 9. Just wicked air time. The guys really adjust the attitude of the car in midair, stick to the landing there right in the middle of turn number 9.
Yeah, Ty's got a good line as he sweeps his way back onto this backside of the track. Rather than making it 2 90-degree corners, he takes that whole backside and just makes it one big sweeping corner with that big jump in the middle. And it's little tenths of a second like that make these guys the best in the world. As Ty Tessman working his way. Oh, Ty catching a hole there on the landing. Taking a chunk of dirt out of that one. He had a 20.7 last time by the line. Tanner Denny with a 20.7. Oh, a rare mistake again there for Ty Tessman. So Ty having a little trouble that last lap. 22.8, that's going to drop his pace to a 23.809, still faster than the last heat of drivers we saw on the track. However, you still got one more heat to go after this. They can try and top this time. So Tessman, bit of a rough lap, trying to get back into his groove now.
And I love the setup. He comes out of turn 2, he hits that jump and really sets himself up perfectly for turn 3, right in the middle again of the apex, right here, just like that. And then continues on to turn number 4, hits a step up here, a tough 180, another 180, and then hard on the throttle here.
As he comes down the start straight there, you can see just a little bit of a kicker there towards the end of the start straight. We saw some guys take a tumble clear off the track yesterday in practice. So the track is getting rough, and it's building some character to it. Ty Tessman right now leading the way here, 23 at an 8:08. Mechanic still in the 2 spot. Tanner Denny in that 3 spot. Tyler Hooks in the 4. And Caden Fuller rounding out your top 5 here in Open E-buggy. Heat number 2. Oh.
Dodges a big bullet right there, though.
Yes, he did. A lucky save for him. He lands back on his wheels. And when you see guys like Ty Tessman having little mistakes like this, you know that it's some brutal conditions out there, and it's really putting them to the test. As these guys are usually near flawless on these racetracks. So it has definitely taken its toll on these guys, and they've got to put 110% focus in when they're out there on the track. And Ty Tessman doing a fantastic job of regrouping after these little mistakes, and just like that hole that caught him after the double. Nothing that he did there. He just caught a weird spot on the track, and it slowed him down, but didn't rattle his rhythm whatsoever, as he's still out front leading the way.
I love the fact that they're just reading this track. You can see there, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but flew the car just a little bit further out of 8 into 9, possibly trying to dodge some of those holes.
Yeah, absolutely, and as you mentioned, a lot of guys I think we're going to start seeing some weird lines as the main line gets rougher and rougher.
Up top right now with 3 minutes to go, it is Ty Tessman on a 23-lap pace, 23.810, 23.811. Right behind him is Ethan Mechanic, also doing a really good job. So a great battle here right at the very top, and then it falls down to a 22-lap pace for Tanner Denny.
Yeah, Ethan doing a fantastic job in that number 2 spot. Fast lap on the track. Look at this. Fee Long win. Fee with the fastest lap out of all these drivers, a 20.605. Now, he's had a little inconsistency here in this one as it compared to his Open Nitro buggy win. He's sitting in the number 6 spot right now.
Ethan Mechanic here as we get a good look at that race car. And as we just documented, he is currently sitting in 2nd, and I mean just a tick off of 1st at a 23.810 to a 23.811 for Ethan Mechanic.
Ethan putting in a fantastic run here. This one there, you see he gets by Caden Fuller. He's got a clear track ahead of him now. That is exactly what he needs in the final 2 minutes of this race, is a clear track if he wants to hunt down Ty Tessman.
Beautiful run there, a little bit wide there through turn number 1, out into the loose stuff, gathers it back up. And as you watch him, just not quite as smooth as what we were watching Ty Tessman do, but nonetheless, his combination of laps has kept him right in the game.
Yeah, he's definitely making it work for him here. And now, the tricky part about it is he got by Caden Fuller, but Caden is a quick young driver, so Caden's going to stay right there on him. And even though this isn't a heads-up battle between the two and they're on their own clock, the nerves still have a tendency to get to you. So Ethan's got the pressure coming up behind him there of Caden, and Caden make a little mistake, dropping back a bit. That'll let him take a little bit of a breather and focus back on his own race and not have to worry about what's going on behind him.
Less than a minute and a half to go. Wow, I thought he was going to go for a tumble right there. There was a lot of angle inside of that car as he was entering turn number 1. A couple of holes there in the back that really upset the car, but navigated it nicely.
Yeah, Ethan right now trying to close that gap up on your race leader, Ty Tessman. Tessman on a 23 at an 8:09 pace. Mechanic on a 23 at an 8:12 pace right now. Tanner Denny works his way back into the 3 spot with a 22.805. Tyler Hooks now up into the 4 spot, 22.808 pace. And Feelong Win in the number 5 spot.
And just like that, things are starting to change there. 3rd, 4th, Tyler Hooks drops down a spot. Or Austin Wick, I should say, jumps up a spot. So, and we'll take a look at Tessman here as well. Clock ticking down, under 30 seconds to go inside of this qualifier.
Infield into the step up now, 15 seconds. Ty Tessman looking for a heat race win here in this one. One more group of Open E-buggy to go after this.
Well, they get back around here in time to start one more lap, quite possibly and I believe he will. I'm not sure exactly where that start-finish timing loop is. We'll see if Ty Tessman gets one more lap in here.
It's going to be close here, whether he gets the extra lap or not. He's got some traffic up ahead of him here. We'll see if they can work it out.
His last lap right here as time has expired.
There he finishes up a 23.808 for Ty Tessman, so a good run there for Ty.
And Ethan Mechanic keeping him honest for sure at a 23.813, so just a couple of ticks behind him, about 5 seconds or so. Tanner Denny will end up inside of the top 3 right here in this particular group. Ty Tessman goes to the top of the pack overall, followed up by Ethan Mechanic and Tanner Denny, 3rd overall. Tyler Hooks ends up 4th overall. And we, of course, we spoke with Trevor Michalesco out of that first group, and he remains inside of the top 5. Here's a look at the results here from this particular group.
Yeah, fantastic run there from Trevor. He's got to be excited about that. Still in the top 5, still in the hunt of things here for Open E-buggy as we're looking at our ProTech RC pit lane cam here as the next group of drivers, mechanics, get them ready to go for our final heat of Open E-buggy here in round 1 of qualifying from Visions RC.
And Scotty Ernst down there with one of the best on the property. He had a great run, as we would expect him to. Scotty?
I think you can. We're here with world champion Ty Tessman from Canada, driving X-Ray hot race tires and Hobby Wing electronics. Ty, first e-buggy under your belt. How was it?
I thought my car was good. I made some changes last night for the first invite practice on my Nitro car, and it was better, so I changed on e-buggy, and I think we're heading in the right direction. I can see if maybe we can pick up a little bit of pace, go a little faster, hopefully. In the next one, see if we make some adjustments and see how the track develops. But I was happy with how my car went, and I had one rollover on the straightaway, but it didn't cost me a whole lot. So I had a pretty good run as far as mistakes. So if I can do that again and just go a little faster, I think we'll be really good.
For our viewers that are watching, how much information can you take from your electric four-wheel buggy to your nitro power? Obviously, the power plants are different, but the suspension, tires, and things like that, does one relate to the other?
Yeah, it pretty much relates almost exactly. The e-buggy has a lot lower center of gravity, so you have to take that into account for sway bars and stuff. But it does give a good test for roll centers, kick-ups and stuff like that. We can kind of feel what it does. It does the same thing, it just maybe a different amount of it does. So just kind of take that into account. But it's a pretty good test for the nitro car. That's kind of why everybody's running e-buggy, just so they have a little more track time with their buggies, because we're kind of limited a little bit to the nitro runs. And all the races for nitro are actual races, so you need to be ready and have your car good. So this is a nice little kind of warm-up practice class for that.
Well, best of luck to you. Good job here.
Thank you.
All right. There's a good thinking from the world champion. You know, it's a big picture. They use it all related to one another. That's why he's one of the best in the world, racing here at Visions.
Thanks a lot, Scotty. Yeah, I'm listening to every word there, and we talk about the complexity of these cars. He's mentioning sway bars, roll centers. It's all the stuff that applies to the big cars, and he's taking full advantage of it, being able to run out here in 2 different categories.
Yeah, it's a wild comparison between a remote control car and a traditional race car. And these guys do a fantastic job, and just like Scotty said, that's why Ty Tessman's one of the best in the world. He knows the ins and outs of his cars, and he knows how to make even better.
And quick little highlights reel here of some of the action that we've had out here on this track. Interesting, too, to hear him mention that the E-Cars, as we alluded to, does have a little bit better lower center of gravity. So we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be right back.
Here we are, 20 years later, still making horsepower, still increasing performance, and still making that official off-road sound. Now, we're stretching our strengths and reaching out for more, utilizing our experience with the strength of American steel to fabricate an entire line of HMF equipment designed to protect your ATV or side-by-side so you can stay focused on what's ahead. Bumpers, exoguards, racks, and accessories. HMF off-road equipment improves strength, expands capabilities, and extends reinforcement so you're prepared to get the job done. HMF, equipped to perform.
And once again, welcome back to Mid-America Outdoors here in Jay, Oklahoma. This is the RC Racing at Visions Off-Road presented by A-Main Hobbies. A-Main Hobbies on site here with a beautiful display. You have what they call the Try Me track over there as well. So if you're on the property here and you'd like to go over and give RC Racing a shot, you are more than welcome to do so. In fact, we urge you to come take advantage of that. Just be careful, you might get hooked. We go into our third group here for Open E-buggy. Mason Fuller, Jared Tebow, Ryan Lutz, this one loaded up, Spencer Rivkin, Jared Wiggins, Cole Ogden, Ryan Pavitas, Seth Van Dalen, Ryan Mayfield. I mean, this is the who's who here on the property, never mind in the electric class.
Yeah, yesterday he was quiet yesterday in the electric class. I didn't even realize that Ryan Mayfield was running it. We had mentioned yesterday that.
Well, I don't think he came out in one of those sessions, right?
That I'm hoping so. I'm hoping I didn't just totally overlook him, because I commented yesterday. I said it's interesting that Ryan Mayfield's not running the electric buggy class, but in fact he is, and he qualified 9th overall yesterday after the seeding practice. So now it's going to be interesting to see as it's go time here for the actual qualifiers.
And once again, this qualifier will be 8 minutes in length. They have about another 30 seconds before they will start the session. Get a couple of laps in here, a couple of turns in here. We heard Ty Tessman, who was just quick in the last group. He's quick overall as it stands right now. Talk about the changes that he made to his e-car based off of what he learned from the Nitro car. We've also heard it go the other way. Adjustments to the e-car based off of what where they've made adjustments to the Nitro car based off of what they've learned from the e-car. So interesting stuff here, but one thing is common. The more seat time, the better, right? The more you're out here and you drive, it doesn't matter E-class or Nitro class. Either way it goes, the seat time, you're going to learn something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Getting a shot there of Ryan Lutz and Caden Ford. There's Ryan Mayfield's car, the Mugen Seiki buggy, as he works his way around, and this race is underway. These drivers getting on the clock here. We'll let them get a few laps in, sort themselves out. We'll see who comes out on top. The time to beat right now is Ty Tessman, a 23 at an 8:08.4. He is currently your top qualifier here at Open E-buggy for round 1 of qualifying.
And coming down this front straightaway right here, there's a little kicker right there, just a little jump going into turn number 1, and I keep missing it. You really don't see it. You just see the car bobble or do something funny. And so I've really been kind of paying attention to see what's upsetting those cars before turn 1. But they do have a little kicker right there just before 1, just to add to the fun.
Yeah, and what I'm noticing is the main line is the cars are actually bottoming out. The chassis slapping up against that, and it's starting to dish out the face of it just a little bit. So these guys are going to have to either change their lines up a little bit, possibly change some car setup, because we're seeing cars getting kicked more and more and catch more airtime. And before the end of the weekend, I think we're probably going to see some cars in and out of the park on that one.
And we talked about it yesterday. I would call one of those jumps. There it is, right there. It's probably the fastest part of the track whenever they hit that right there, and it would be what I would refer to as the high-speed part of the dampers is what you would use there. But you might not want to make an adjustment for that particular spot if you have to give something up on the rest of the track.
That's very true. That's very true. These guys, whoa, that was really close. Ryan Mayfield.
Awesome is what that was.
Ryan Lutz and Ryan Mayfield just about colliding there on the front stretch. But yes, as you were saying, a little mistake there. They help each other out. Well, it didn't help Lutz out very much, but it helped out Ryan Mayfield. As you were saying, though, you got to tune the car for the whole track, and so they may or may not make adjustments. There, Ryan Mayfield found a new line. He steps outside the main line, and you saw the car didn't leave the ground one bit.
That is absolutely correct. A really beautiful line right there. That's what the pros do. You know, something else that happens in big cars where the drivers are actually in the cars, one of the most critical moments, as Mayfield definitely overshot that one, is looking ahead. If you look directly in front of you, you're just not going to be as fast as you need to be. You need to be looking ahead whenever you're driving a full-scale car. I'm curious how far ahead these guys look. Clearly, you have to keep an eye on the car, but we saw him make that adjustment to get around the car that was in front of him, so clearly was looking ahead to some degree as well.
No, absolutely. That's a big factor for these guys, especially the top pros. They're not only able to watch what their car is doing and know and kind of feel themselves what the car is doing, but they're also able to watch far ahead, and they know exactly what's going on around them and what's coming up and what to adjust and be ready for. Meanwhile, Mason Fuller is actually leading the way here. He was your fastest driver in Open E-buggy for seeding yesterday, and he's leading the way here in this one on a 24 and an 8:20. And Ryan Mayfield sitting in that number 2 spot right now. Cole Ogden, who we're watching on the screen, he's sitting in 3rd. Your top 3 drivers are all ahead of Ty Tessman's TQ time as of right now. Tessman sitting 4th overall as it sits.
Keeping an eye on Cole Ogden, as you mentioned him, currently sitting in that 3rd position, and you're exactly right. We saw Ty Tessman come out here and lay down a really good package, and now Mason Fuller looking to get past that. In fact, 3 or 4 guys looking to surpass that. Now, with that said, we're just approaching the halfway mark of this qualifying session, so a lot of time left here to cover. But this group, as we talked about, very, very stacked.
Yeah, you take a look at Ryan Mayfield and Mason Fuller, both those drivers clicking off their fast laps of a 20.4. Oh, a little mistake there. Seth Van Dalen with a 20.4 as well. These are some fast lap times here in this one. Cole Ogden talked about yesterday in an interview after one of his seating practice rounds. Oh, big mistake right there. Lands back on his wheels. Still going to cost him some time, though. And that number 3 spot, Jared Wiggins may be able to move up to 4th now.
We'll watch that come to be as we go back and keep our eye on the session leader, Mason Fuller, at a 23-lap pace. 8 even. 8 minutes, 8.00 minutes, we should say. 23.801 for Ryan Mayfield, right there on his heels.
Yeah, the Fuller family. It is a family affair at the RC races, as their dad Mike is Mason and Caden's mechanic. Obviously, the whole family is typically at the track with them, which is very cool to see. So it's awesome to see the Fullers. They've come a long way, and especially Mason here in this one, leading the way, trying to set the early fast time. But Ryan Mayfield going to steal that spot from him now. Mayfield out front on 23.801. They are on identical times now. Fuller and Mayfield, 1/10 of a second apart.
And Fuller jumps right back up to the top now, just that quickly. So great stuff. There was 3 cars packed up together there. One of them made a mistake and held the other one up, allowed one to get away. Keep in mind, oh man, and ends up on the inside of the tube there for just a brief moment as well, as we keep an eye on Mason Fuller here. Backs it into that 180. But you don't have the luxury to hold back and look for clean track anymore. Not in this format of qualifying. You've got to deal with whatever's around you best you can.
Yeah, and right now Mason, he's got a clean track right now, but he's got some traffic up ahead of him. And again on the same spot. And I tell you what, 1/10 of a second. Ryan Mayfield is he's a shark in the water.
Make you pay, huh?
Yes, yes. Ryan Mayfield, he'll take everything from you that he can get, and right now he's using those little mistakes to his advantage. Mayfield with a 20.422 fast lap of this heat race right now with 1:55 left to go.
Yeah, and Fuller right there behind him at a 20.48. So 20.49, by the way, by Seth Van Dalen. A little bit deeper down in the pack in terms of his lap average, but also in the hunt. Almost the entire group now on a 23-lap pace.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see right now where Ryan Mayfield is at on the track in terms of lap traffic as he's trying to deal. Oh, hard hit right there. I believe that was Ryan Pavitas going upside down on that side straightaway.
So frustrating, I'm sure, as a driver. You get mixed up with those cars, and somebody's going to come out on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, in the off-road RC racing world, the only class that you could really get away with bumping and not tumbling each other is obviously the short course trucks. The open wheel buggies, one touch and somebody's going flying somewhere.
Typical open wheel style racing, right? I mean, you touch wheel to wheel, somebody's going for a ride. These guys really, man, look at these cars fly. Just, oh, man. And just like that, he nailed it perfect. I thought it was awesome. And then he either hits a hole or hits a rock, and it sends the car for a ride.
Yeah, that's going to cost Mason Fuller right there with a 23.2 that time with that little mistake. Ryan Mayfield, I think this next time around, may be able to take over that top spot. It's going to be close as they come around here.
And I don't even know if we can call that a mistake. That's just an act of the racing gods, right?
That's
like,
right.
Oh, we'll throw a rock at you, see what happens here.
Just trying to spice things up just a little bit.
Right.
Well, here's Ryan Mayfield as he works his way down the front stretch now. Mayfield with a 21.4 that time by. He's on a 23.808 pace. So Mason still holding on to that top spot.
Yeah, excellent job. Mason Fuller still hanging on. I mean, oh, so close. I thought Mayfield would jump up after that moment, but has not happened yet. About 4 seconds behind is Mayfield. Jared Wiggins now up into third. Cole Ogden was there. He's fallen down to fourth. Seth Van Dalen remains in fifth. overall for the category. Mason Fuller and Ryan Mayfield have topped Ty Tessman, but Ty Tessman currently sitting in third.
And it looks like this is going to be Mayfield's last time by the line there as everybody finishing up. Mason Fuller finishing this one up at 23.804. That is a new fast time. He will be your top qualifier for Open E-buggy, round number 1 of qualifying. Ryan Mayfield finished up in that number 2 spot for the heat and overall with a 23.808. As you mentioned there, Ty Tessman for the overall finished up in that number 3 spot.
Yeah, how close is that? So Ryan Mayfield second, 23.808.0. Ty Tessman, 23.808.4 is the difference between second and third. Congratulations to Mason Fuller on top of that. Really stacked field. Awesome hit.
Mason Fuller here, a quick highlight reel of the Iowa native coming down here to Oklahoma, making his way with his younger brother and his mechanic and father, Mike Fuller. As you can see, he put in a near flawless run there in that one to take that overall Open E-buggy top qualifier time.
Yeah, and certainly worth mentioning that this same young gun won the Psycho Nitro Blast and Pro Electric Buggy, so he knows how to get it done, Scotty.
All right, thank you very much. We're here with Mason down on the driver's stand. Hot Bodies, Trinity, and J Concept driver. That was the fastest of all the heats, so you take TQ for round 1. That's got to be a great feeling to start off Visions like that.
Yeah, definitely good to start off with a TQ. These are a bit longer qualifiers, so I just had to try and stay consistent as much as I could. There's a lot of bumps out on the track right now, so, and it's getting pretty dusty too, but aquas are working really good right now, so just try to stay consistent.
Are you running the same tires on both your Nitro and your electric?
Yeah, I'll just be switching them out actually for the Nitro right now, so same set.
Tire wear hasn't been much of a problem at all?
Tire wear is actually pretty high. I mean, we're running pretty hard tire, and it's wearing out quite a bit, but I mean, it's all right. A lot of grip.
That's racing, right?
Yeah, that's racing.
All right, well, good job here in round 1. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. He's been a young gun through the years, climbing the ranks, and over the past year, I've talked to him more and more times on the podium. It's good to see Mason running well here.
No question. He has certainly proven his worth and comes out here and gets it done. You know, the Nitro category, ranked 9th in the world. I mean, he's one of those players in that invitational class, comes out here and proves it.
Yeah, he's a fantastic young driver. We've already seen some great success for him, and I think he's got a lot of years ahead of him here as he only continues to get better and better. A great view there of the amainhobbies.com Try Me track, and as you can see, it is busy this morning with all of the guests here at Mid-America Outdoors here in Jay, Oklahoma, here for the side-by-side racing, the rock bouncing, the Ultra 4, you name it, they've got it here in the off-road world, and those drivers are now coming over to get a little taste of the RC action.
Great stuff. We're going to have our Sportsman E-buggy category coming up here next, so the pace will slow down a bit, but the action just might pick up.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right here. Our Sportsman E-buggy, one heated drivers here in this one, Dylan Bontrager, Brian Johnson, Kenneth Drake, Taylor Janda, Billy Womack, Peyton Lamb, and Steve Collins here this weekend for our Sportsman E-buggy division. As these drivers getting all checked in here, getting their warm-up laps in the books for round 1 of qualifying here from Visions RC.
Now the cars are exactly the same as we just saw the invitational drivers driving, correct? It's just quite literally the novice beginners that are out here having some fun working on their skill.
Absolutely. That's the cool part about this is, these guys are running basically the same cars that you can buy. And, of course, they've got some hop-up parts and things like that, some engineering parts and some new prototypes and stuff that maybe you can't buy off the shelf just yet. But overall, the main platform and stuff is everything that the pro guys are running. And, you can outfit yourself in the exact same car. Not to mention, the cool part about it is a lot of these pro guys will release their setups for their cars on the different tracks. So you can get on to any of these major manufacturers' websites or Facebook pages and things like that, and you can find like Jared Tebow's setup for this track on his Techno buggy, and go right down the line. You'll have his diff settings, his shock settings, his sway bar settings, all of that, so you can set your car up just like it.
So you think he actually put all of his real settings on that setup page?
Well, I'm going to say.
Listen, I've been in the game for a long, long time, and I would love to believe everything you just said. Yeah, at least let's just say he'll get you in the window.
He'll get you in the ballpark.
He'll get you in the window. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give him that. And I did notice that in the top 25. As you take a look at that website, and you see a section where it says setups, and it is super cool that they do have that option for the novice, for the young guns, and quite frankly, for somebody in the open class, maybe they want to go in and take a look at a different setup, and maybe it sparks a different thought process to chase a different setup in a different direction and find a little bit of speed. It's super cool that they're helping out the young guns.
Yeah, absolutely, and even the tire manufacturers now have gone as far as doing tire setups. You know, they'll release what their team drivers were using on different surfaces, and you may not be racing on that same track, but you can kind of relate it to your home track. If you have a similar surface to something like this or a similar track, you know, you can get on a lot of the tire manufacturers' websites, and they'll point you in the right direction as to what foam inserts you want, what tires you want, what compound, what treads, and all that, and you'll be right on your way. And
so, oh man, big tumble right there. We told you the action might pick up. As you talk about tires, was taking a look at them yesterday, touch them. They are extremely soft. Some of them to the point they almost feel sticky or gooey, if you will. But once you mount the tires on that wheel, that's pretty much it for the life of that tire.
That's it. That is, once you mount it, it is on there. Quick instant replay here. Into the
yard sale.
Luckily there you got Jared Tebow there to save the day. Rolls him back over, gets him going again.
How about that? Jared Tebow over there being a corner worker, helping out a little bit. Pretty cool.
Helping out, and these guys are putting their laps in. It looks like this race is underway here. Kenneth Drake going to be out front leading the way. Taylor Janda in the number 2 spot. Dylan Bontranger in that number 3 spot. Brian Johnson, Billy Womack, Peyton Lamb, and Steve Collins. Looks like Steve may not be out there here for round 1. We'll see if he comes back out for round number 2. 6 minutes left to go here in this one. Kenneth Drake out front on a 20 at an 8:07 pace.
Yeah, and I was just going to look up what Mason Fuller was at, a 23:8:04. So it gives you a great idea of how much the pace how much the pace changes here from the pros to the sportsmen's here as they're on a 20-lap pace. So some 3 laps down here already, but that doesn't matter. They're competing against other drivers at their own skill level, and consequently the competition is just as fun, both to be part of and for us to watch and call.
Yeah, the other neat part is about it, if you follow along long enough, you'll see a lot of these guys, they may be in the sportsman division for a year, maybe 2 years, something like that, but a lot of these guys, they'll quickly move up, just like Fee Long Win. We saw him in the sportsman division only a year or 2 ago, and now he finds himself in the invite class here this weekend with the best of the best. So pretty wild to watch these drivers as they grow and learn their way through the ropes of RC.
Big air time, beautiful looking cars. We take a look here at Taylor Janda. Taylor Janda currently sitting in the 4th position. A pace of 20 laps, 28:23. Would need to surpass the 20-lap pace of 8:19 of Brian Johnson to step up into the top 3.
Janda working his way onto that far side of the track, onto the back. Oh, make a little mistake there.
Got into the fluff, if you will, and way over there by the tube. But no harm, no foul. Continues on here. Turn in just a little bit early. A little excited there over the jump. A little bit wide. So all those little moves that you talk about all the time, we see the pros nail it almost every lap. And here just a little out of sorts. But in all honesty, I think doing a really nice job here of keeping this thing on the track and keeping a good lap going together.
Yeah, Janda, I tell you what, he's got the capability to be running up at that number 1 spot, but like you say, consistency on this track is very difficult, especially with these conditions, and he's got some fast laps. He's just got to put them all together. Right now, Dylan is doing just that out front on a 20 at 8:12. Brian Johnson holds the fastest lap of this group with a 22.5, the only driver so far to get down the 22-second lap range. He is sitting in the number 2 spot on a 20 at 8:10. Taylor Janda in that number 3 spot. Now Johnson going to move up to the number 1 spot. This is your race leader here, Brian Johnson, as he works his way through the infield.
Yeah, pretty impressive to put some 6/10 on the rest of the field out here. Certainly has some speed inside of that car if he can string together a few more laps. Nice job there through turn number 1. Good setup for turn 2. There's the step up.
Back around here as Johnson out front. I tell you what, though, Dylan not that far back from him, both on a 20 and an 8-11 now. Dylan back to, oh, big crash there coming down the side straight for your race leader, Brian Johnson. Johnson takes a huge tumble off that kicker. And Ken, you had mentioned that kicker was getting a little worse and worse. And right there, Brian just found it.
Yeah, and for us, I mean, we sat in here and had the luxury of watching that previous session. We saw Mayfield find a way on the outside to smooth that out. I would think as a novice driver, if you're not working on your car, I would try to have the car ready, get up there and watch what the pros are doing, watch their lines, replay of it here. Great job in the truck to give us another view as that one goes for a vicious ride. Fortunately, no real driver inside of that thing because that would have been a bad day for sure. But, you know, you want to watch those pros and find those lines and see if you can get around an obstacle like that.
Absolutely. And Brian here trying to get back on track. Oh, little mistake there. Dylan out front now on a 20 and an 8:07, so he stretched his lead out here in our Sportsman E-buggy heat with 2 minutes left to go. More trouble there for Brian as he tumbles off the double in the center section.
And for those of you wondering if the cars are tough, he's given us a good example of that.
Yeah, these cars are taking a beating this weekend, even without crashing. They're taking a beating this weekend, and then you throw some crashes in there, and you're putting them to the test. But so far, we've seen everybody holding up really well.
Yeah, my understanding, and I don't know if it'll happen here for the sportsman category, but for the invitational guys, a number of the open guys, from what I understand, they service the differentials, 3 of them inside of the Nitro cars, but they service the differentials literally between each session.
Those guys, I tell you what, as soon as they come off the track, they're right back at the pit table. They got the cars torn down. The differentials will get all new oils. Even if it's not a change in oil, they'll get fresh oil at least in them. The same with the shocks. They'll do the shock oil in those. They'll check over everything from front to back. Basically, essentially a full rebuild as much as possible at the track with the time allotted, you know, in between each race. And it's nonstop work from the time they get here to the time they leave.
Amazing. Between round maintenance items, a checklist I'm sure that a number of the guys go through each and every time to make sure that thing is ready to rock.
As you see right now, we're looking at Brian Johnson still as he works his way onto the backside of the track. Dylan Bontrager still going to be out front, though, 20 at an 8:06. He's your race leader. His fast lap at 22.697. Brian Johnson's fast lap at 22.574.
Dylan Bontrager, by the way, leading the group here as we take a look at Dylan. On a 20-lap pace, only 2 of them now on a 20-lap pace. 28:06 for Dylan. Brian Johnson staying, keeping him honest at a 28:12, so 28:11 now. So just 5 seconds off the pace of Dylan as we watch Dylan make his way around the track.
Yeah, Dylan out there driving the blue and white Techno RC buggy. Doing a good job here in this heat race, keeping it on all fours.
Final laps here. Clock has expired, so that'll wrap things up there for Dylan and Brian Johnson. So it will remain as they stand there with Dylan Bontrager up top on a 20-lap pace, 8:05.9, 28:10 flat for Brian Johnson in second. Taylor Janda will end up in third, and Billy Womack in fourth. Peyton Lamb rounds out your top 5. Then Kenneth Drake and Steve Collins, unfortunately, not able to make the call.
Yeah, fantastic run there for Dylan. 20 at 8:05, 5 seconds faster than Brian Johnson at a 20 at 8:10, that number 2 spot. Good run for Taylor Janda as well. All these guys enjoying some track time here this weekend out here at the Visions RC event, Mid-America Outdoors.
I'd say pretty impressive, man. I mean, 20 laps between the top 2, separated by just 5 seconds. Very impressive for sure, especially in the sportsman category.
Some close racing, and there you see a few tumbles. This is your highlight reel here. That's your race winner of that win, Dylan Bontrager, working his way through the infield. There's Taylor Janda. Janda, your third place finisher there for Sportsman E-buggy, round 1 of qualifying.
We look forward to their race, of course, as well. They'll be competing out here tomorrow with everybody else. And in the meantime, let's get it down to Scotty.
Thanks, guys. We're here with Dylan, just taking a win here in a Sportsman division, driving a Techno buggy from Dallas, Texas. Tell us about your run.
I was just trying to stay smooth and not have any crashes. That seems to be what's going to make everybody do good or do bad this weekend, seems like. So just tried to make a run with no crashes. Didn't work out, but it was okay.
My co-commentators were talking on the air about the Sportsman division kind of being for beginners and things, and it's exactly what it is for you just a few months into the hobby.
Yes, sir. We started little car racing about 8 months ago and just started the 8-scale stuff about 3 months ago. Having a lot of fun. A lot of fun. This place is really nice. These guys are putting on an excellent event. Look forward to coming back.
You say little cars. Did you run big cars before this?
I drag race also, big cars. So we do that a lot. And been taking a break from that to do this. Been having a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. This is cheaper and safer, right?
Yes.
Well, best of luck. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. From the big car to the small car, starting out into the hobby, having a good time here at Visions.
Congrats to Dylan. Nice job, and thanks a lot, Scotty. Okay, we'll take a quick break here from Mid-America Outdoors, and we'll be right back with more RC action.
Upgrading. It's what we do. So upgrading is what we did. Introducing the IQ equipment lineup powered by HMF. Designed for the most adventurous side-by-sides in the world, IQ equipment has the strength to tackle the off-road head-on. Bolt-on, American-manufactured steel. Engineered to increase strength, durability, and protection, so you're equipped to handle the most extreme performance. When you're ripping through the desert at full throttle, or tearing through some of the most brutal terrain in the world, you're going to need equipment that keeps you moving at a high level. Because when you have the performance and you have the protection, you then have the confidence to actively pursue your passions just as freedom was intended to be. HMF, equipped to perform.
Welcome back to Jay, Oklahoma. We're at the beautiful complex known as Mid-America Outdoors. Ken Stout and Mike Garrison calling the action for you. Scotty Ernst on the property. Jimmy Babcock, our race director out here, keeping all the crazy kids in line, if you will. The inmates trying to run the asylum. We've had a great time, and one of those that are out here on the property is one of the best in the world. That is Cole Ogden, joining HB here just this year from Covington, Georgia. Does both Nitro and E-buggy. Had a great run out here. About 12 ranked events so far this year. Ranked 16th coming in here. Does have a podium, 7 top 5s. Done a great job. Grabbed that podium at the DNC and Pro Electric Buggy. Solid effort.
Yeah, Cole Ogden is definitely one you can't count out. Anytime you get him on the racetrack, he's a force to be reckoned with. And it looks like here for our Invite Nitro buggy, Heat 1 of qualifying, he's going to be starting in that number 1 spot.
So the big dogs coming out here to play with the Nitro cars, and yes, we now have a 12-car field. Welcome, Felong Nguyen, the young phenom, doing a great job in the open category, earned the top qualifying position and won $1,000 and the right to come out here and race with the absolute best in the world in this category.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic race. The first we've seen of the Invite Nitro Buggy qualifying here. These drivers, a 30-lap race here for them. Equates out to about a 10-minute race. As they're taking the track here, just getting warmed up in this one, I do believe this is going to be a heads-up start here for these guys.
So let's talk about the format here for the invitational category, because it will play right into the triple header that we will have tomorrow. We will have 3 A mains tomorrow. We'll have 3 qualifiers here. So they drew pills. They were letters, actually. And your letter, whatever pill you drew or whatever letter you drew, will give you a starting position in the first, second, and third heat. All 3 of those heats, you will start in a different position to give everybody a fair chance at winning this qualifier, or to do as good as possible. Depending on how you finish in qualifier 1, 2, and 3, it's how you will start A main 1, 2, and 3 tomorrow.
That is correct. It's going to make for a very, very interesting thing. Also puts a little more pressure on these guys. Normally, obviously, they're already in the invite class, so they're in the feature races tomorrow, so they're not qualifying for a spot in it, but their finishing position out of this will determine where they're starting. So there's some added pressure here for these guys in this qualifying race here today.
And not to mention the money that's on the line. You win one of the A mains tomorrow, that's $1,500. If you win the overall, it's $5,000, $3,000 for second, $2,000 for third. If you can sweep somehow, you get a $5,000 bonus. If you look at the $5,000 to win the overall, a sweep, a $5,000 bonus. If you did sweep, that means you've won all 3 of your A mains. That's a total of $14,500. And if you're Felong Nguyen, it's $15,500 for the weekend, because he's already picked up $1,000.
Not a bad weekend racing RC cars at perhaps one of the greatest off-road motorsports parks in the country.
Finding their starting positions here as well. I'm guessing they will top these things off with fuel even after those couple of laps.
Yep, it looks like they're coming in here. They'll top them off and get set to go. We're looking at Ryan Lutz, mechanic there, as he's topping him off there on the right. That is Gord Tessman on the left, topping off Ty Tessman. There you see Matty Ostad and Seth Van Dalen.
Is that Katie?
No, Katie should be. Where's Jared Wiggins lined up? Jared Wiggins is starting. There's Katie Roxbury. And Jared Wiggins starting the number 3 spot.
So I see that they're all holding the fuel can. She's getting ready to refuel it. Do they have to wait to refuel?
No, I think she is just ready to go.
Okay.
She is prepared and ready. There you see.
Game face on. She's in position.
That's right. There you see the King, Richard Saxton, a team associated, now mechanicking for Spencer Rivkin. Of course, Richard Saxton with multiple championships under his belt as well. There's Graham Hill for Jared Tebow. Tanner Denny as well.
And as we were talking about turn number 1, you can see starting positions all wrapped all the way around there in turn number 1.
Yeah, this will make for an interesting start here for these drivers. Mason Fuller on the driver's stand. We just saw him. He topped the field in Open E-buggy. He's now starting that number 9 spot here for Nitro Buggy.
Car's still clearly running, and you'll see those guys revving those things up to try and keep them cleaned out. Look at the tow out on some of these vehicles as well.
Yeah, it looks like Tyler Hooks there pitting there for the Mugen of Ryan Mayfield, starting the number 6 spot.
Some tow out like that typically in a big car would create some stability. Keep things from darting around. If you're on a very high-speed track, long straightaways, you want to limit that as much as possible to limit some of that scrub, but it for sure creates some stability. If you go straight up, car tends to dart left or right one way or the other. So there it is. Now they're topping things off.
Matty topping off the Techno RC buggy there of Seth Van Dalen. They get set to go here. Tyler Hooks holding on to Ryan Mayfield. Mayfield going to be one to keep an eye out for, starting in that number 6 spot. A good shot of the drivers there. They are down and quiet. Off and underway. Here we go. Heat number 1 for qualifying for our Invite Nitro Buggy class. Leading us out is going to be Cole Ogden.
And they did exactly what we were wondering if they would do. They actually skipped this 180 on the first lap. They'll now take the 180. That's to keep everybody from bunching up there in that first turn. So beautiful start here by everybody. We are off and running. This is qualifier number 1 for the Invitational.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic decision by the track crew to let those guys do that and keep that first lap as clean as possible, and it's definitely going to help the racing out and limit the frustration for these guys as well. Cole Ogden out front right now. He's starting that number 1 spot, and I tell you what, it's going to be tough to knock him off that number 1 spot, especially if he gets in a rhythm. When Ogden gets in a rhythm, it's hard to knock him out of it, and he's looking good right now.
And so just to clarify, just because he's in the number 1 spot doesn't necessarily mean he's the number 1 qualifier.
At this point, because this is a heads-up race here in this one, they are not on their own clock, so everybody's clock started the same. So this is more like a traditional race you might see with the big cars. They are racing for position.
This is a lapped race.
Lapped race, that is correct. So they're doing a 30-lap race rather than a timed event here. We're 3 laps in, so 27 laps left to go here. Oh, some troubles there for Ryan Pavitas. Looks like the wing may be coming off the back of that car. And that's going to change how that thing handles. He's going to have his hands full by the end of this one.
And if you're wondering how they based that starting lineup, we would go back to yesterday's action.
That is correct. That is correct. We go back to our seating practice from yesterday. And Ogden right now, if he can finish in that number 1 spot, he'll start A-Main number 1 tomorrow in the number 1 spot.
Great stuff. So the absolute best in the world out here going at it. All of these guys ranked from 38th to number 1 in the world. This is as good as it gets. If you want to come out here and bang with the best, this is a good place to do it. A number of these drivers making a living at this form of motorsport.
Yeah, Spencer Ripken has worked his way up to the number 2 spot. Jared Wiggins dropping back into the number 3 spot. They've got Seth Van Dalen in the mix and Ryan Mayfield with him right there as well. Oh, trouble coming up the step-up section. Several drivers there in the back of the pack, and a pass for the inside right there. Ryan Mayfield making a move on Jared Wiggins now.
How about that? Wiggins had a really good run going, and then as you mentioned, just a quick little bobble. Ryan Mayfield able to get up and get around him, and Wiggins trying to rebound here.
Yeah, Wiggins not afraid to take it right back from him. Mayfield drops back a spot. Fantastic battle between these two. I tell you what, Jared Wiggins has really impressed me this weekend. Oh, big mistake there for Wiggins. He goes tumbling. Ryan Mayfield going to take full advantage of that, take over the number 3 spot.
And that's where Mayfield shines. He just stays calm. It's the mistake-free effort. Wiggins definitely under the gun, under the pressure right there. Mayfield just kept the pressure on, finally picks up the position. Look how close these guys are, though. I mean, it just does not take much of a mistake for them to close the gap.
Ryan Mayfield trying to close that gap up on Spencer Rivkin right now in the number 2 spot. Meanwhile, Cole Ogden is out to a 3-second lead already here in this one. Ogden may be, look
right
at that.
Up and over.
Wow, Spencer Rivkin making a rare mistake there. Not like him to make a mistake in that section. And Mayfield now numbered to the number 2 spot. Rivkin is going to drop to the 3 spot. Van Dalen in the 4 spot. Jared Wiggins in the 5. Cole Ogden still going to be out front. Fast lap of the race is by your race leader, 20.622. Ty Tessman in the number 6 spot here, followed by Tebow, Fuller, Lutz, Denny, Pavitas, and Wynn rounding out your field here.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where Mayfield started this particular race at to see how many spots he's picked up. Not that that's an advantage. It truly is just based on how you finish here. But it's always good to see how many spots are able to pick up throughout the course of the event.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Mayfield started the number 6 spot. So he's worked his way up through the field. Got one car upside down there on the side of the track. That may have been our race leader, Cole Ogden. I believe it was. Ryan Mayfield now to the front here in this one.
Well, and again, it comes back to a mistake-free run, right? Look at him set up right there for that left-hander. Beautiful job, but he's getting plenty of pressure here as well. Yeah. Rivkin right behind him. I think Rivkin did he just take the lead?
He did indeed. Rivkin taking over that number 1 spot away from Ryan Mayfield. These teammates, and now they are on separate teams. However, they are no strangers to racing with one another, so this is going to make for an exciting race here.
So a quick little, just a little bobble by Mayfield opened up the door for Rivkin. Rivkin takes advantage of it, and now Mayfield closing that gap back up. Boy, what a great battle here in this first qualifier.
Yeah, as these two drivers are trying to battle it out, don't forget the 3rd place driver is Cole Ogden. He is sneaking his way back up into view as well. There's Ogden right there with him.
And nearly landed on Mayfield.
Here they come back through the center section now. We're going to start seeing some pit stops before too long. We'll see how that plays into this one as well. Mayfield all over right now. The back door. He's got the inside line on Rivkin. Rivkin cuts back to the inside. They bump just a bit. Rivkin unable to do that. And look at that, Ogden. Cole Ogden over the top now is back up into the number 1 spot. I believe that is Tessman caught up in the mix as well. Mayfield back to the number 1 spot. Ogden drops back to the number 2 spot. This is incredible racing here between these drivers here in qualifying.
And another big moment. Yeah, absolutely amazing. You talked about pit stops, and they have already begun. A couple of them on pit road.
Yeah,
and the delta before, we took a look at that. Seconds for these guys.
Yeah, it looks like Ogden and Rivkin both coming in for a pit stop there, trying to get out of that mess of things. And Rivkin's pit stop there, a 6.2 second stop. Ogden 8.2, so 2 seconds slower for Cole Ogden.
Could be a huge difference, of course, in the overall scheme of things. Very exciting, though, watching all 3 or 4 of those guys are right up there at the very front of the field. One little bobble, or maybe you just got out of sync. You try not to hit the guy in front of you. We saw Ogden take immediate advantage of it, able to jump over a couple of players at the same time. So exciting stuff for sure, but Mayfield able to somehow survive and find himself back out front again.
Yeah, keep an eye. I believe Mayfield's probably going to pit this time around. He's got Tyler and Doug Hooks, the father-son duo, pitting for him. Here comes Mayfield. Into pit lane. He is in and on the wall. Looks like Doug Hooks taking care of him. Good view right there from our ProTech RC pit lane cam. Mayfield in and out with a 6.1 second pit stop. He is still your race leader. Seth Van Dalen out to second. Rivkin to third. Wiggins and Tebow, your top 5.
Once again, qualifier number 1 for the Invitational category. Time elapsed so far, 7 minutes. This is a 30-lap race, though. 20 laps complete here, 10 to go.
Yeah, 10 laps left here for these guys as they're working their way around. Ryan Mayfield. I tell you what, this is the worst place for the competition for Ryan Mayfield to be, because once he gets out front, gets in his groove, he's hard to stop. And right now he is trying to run away here with this one. Seth Van Dalen in that number 2 spot still. Spencer Rivkin back up to the 3 spot. Jared Wiggins in 4th and Jared Tebow in 5th. The Techno RC guys with a strong showing right now, sitting 2nd, 4th, and 5th in this one. Ryan Mayfield, of course, the Mugen driver out front, and Spencer Rivkin with the Associated Buggy, the new car, in that number 3 spot.
He's ranked number 1 in the world, and for good reason, and I think this is where he's probably most dangerous. You take a little bit of pressure off of him, gets in a rhythm, and starts stringing these laps together, he will be brutal to catch.
Absolutely. 8 laps left to go here for Ryan Mayfield in qualifier round number 1 here from Mid-America Outdoors. And as you can see, he's looking comfortable. He's got a clear track ahead of him right now. A few cars up ahead. I don't know in 7 laps time if they're going to get caught up together or not. The one you got to wonder about here is I did not see what happened to Cole Ogden, your early race leader. He looked very comfortable out front, and unfortunately now he's fallen back down to the number 7 spot.
Yeah, and you've got to think that much like in the big cars, I know certainly like an Indy car, they will pace the field if they're on a track and they can see lap traffic up ahead of them, and they're not pressured from behind. You don't want to get yourself in that hornet's nest if you don't have to. So if he can pace himself and stay in this hole right here, not have any pressure from behind, not get in the mix of a lap car up in front, it's certainly the preferred way of getting the thing done.
Absolutely. Good look at Ryan Mayfield there on the driver's stand. It's always interesting to watch the drivers as they're up on the stand and the different driving styles. There's a lot of guys, they look very intense. Some look very relaxed. You'll get some guys that actually just shake the whole time they're racing. They're shaking while they're standing up there. So it's
watch out for the guy that's having a drink and a cigarette and he's leading. You know, that guy's scary.
That's right. Exactly. It's always interesting to watch. Always fun to see those guys in action up on the driver's stand as well. Ryan Mayfield now with only 4 laps left to go. He is looking for a round 1 qualifying win here in our Invite Nitro Buggy class.
Yeah, so solid. It's just very exciting to watch him come out here and do what he does. 19 events so far, 10 wins this season, 14 podiums, 17 top 5s. Kicked the season off with 6 straight wins, including the DNC and the Psycho Nitro Blast. I mean, he's the real deal.
Yeah, that's no easy task whatsoever. And I would say at this point, if you're Ryan Mayfield, anything but first is kind of a shock to you. He's won so much not only this year, but so many years in the past as well. And he's continuing to keep that streak alive here today so far.
Yeah, I mean, only of the 2 ranked events that he's entered has he been out of the top 5. Just goes to show you the consistency here, but and 14 of those on the podium. I mean, just continues to pound. Seth Van Dalen here, take a look at him. A little bit deeper down in the field, or I shouldn't say in the field, on the track there. Seth Van Dalen doing a great job working his way up into second position, followed up by Spencer Rivkin.
And this should be the final time by as Mayfield comes around, and he has done it. Ryan Mayfield, your Invite Nitro Buggy qualifier #1 winner. A fantastic run for a fantastic driver. Seth Van Dalen will take second, Spencer Rivkin third, Ryan Lutz fourth. Jared Tebow going to round out your top 5, followed by Wiggins, Ogden, Fuller, Tessman, Denny, Pavitas, and Pheelong Wynn.
So that is how they will start things off in A-Main #1 tomorrow. Ryan Mayfield certainly very happy with that impressive effort there. Should make for a great battle in our triple header.
Yeah, Mayfield putting in a fantastic run there. Seth Van Dalen only 7 seconds back from him. Seth with a strong run as well. Spencer Rivkin, of course, Ryan Lutz. Not sure exactly what happened to Pavitas and Pheelong Wynn, but we'll see them back up as well, along with the rest of these drivers in round 2 of our Invite Nitro Buggy class.
And let's get it over to Scotty.
Mayfield in J Concepts and ProTech RC driver Ryan. First one under your belt. You started 6th, kind of middle of the pack, but you did what you had to do and got to the front.
Yeah, the car felt really good today. Yesterday was a little bit of a kind of a learning curve. The track it's a little different than what we're used to, so I was a little off on pace yesterday, but I was just focused on getting my car good for actually racing and being around other vehicles. So felt like I hit that right there. I had to race my way through the pack there at the beginning of the race and got out, into the lead, and I felt comfortable, leading the race. So go back and just kind of assess what we got going on and maybe make a couple more small changes. But other than that, yeah, the car felt phenomenal. RM Power was killing it out there. I had to turn my dual rate down on my radio, take a little power out of it halfway through the race. She was getting a little crazy, but yeah, it was a good race. Everybody raced cleanly, and it's good to start on pole for tomorrow on the first main.
Usually in qualifiers, it sets us up for the one championship final. But as you just alluded to, it starts you on pole. That's what's unique with this format. To qualify, you get a win in the qualifier, it gives you a pole in one of the mains.
Yeah, it's going to be just a round-by-round kind of thing. I feel like we're racing 3 different races today, and we're going to race 3 different races tomorrow. And obviously the goal is try to win every time you're on the track, but for me, if I'm looking at the grand picture of everything, it gets a little overwhelming. So I'm just treating it round by round, but yeah, it's cool that, we get to race today for the actual starting position in each individual main, which is definitely unique, and it's going to make it interesting, and I'm sure you're going to see some fists of fury tomorrow when we're all battling for the actual cash, so it should be a good time.
Ryan, you're a world champ. You've been around the world doing this as a hobby. You know exactly what this event means, though, to be able to have it at this amazing facility in front of actual race enthusiasts.
Yeah, I mean, I never imagined it would be what, when Brandon called me and said he wanted to put on this event, and I looked it up online, I'm like, man, if they do it right, this is could be a game changer for our industry, and so far so good. I mean, the presentation is awesome. Just being around all these big scale cars, and there's so many people coming up and checking us out, and they're looking, they're looking at our stuff like, man, that's really cool, and I'm sitting back looking at all the big, I'm like, that's really cool. There's big, side by sides and U4 trucks, and so yeah, I hope we can do this every year. This is definitely going to be one of those races like a Nitro Challenge or a Silver State, one you got to get to, and we've had a blast. We got here Tuesday, rented a side by side on Wednesday, and had a great time, and the family environment here is phenomenal. I talk to my wife when I get home. I'd love to bring my family here and do a week out camping here in our trailer. So, yeah, awesome. Kudos to Brandon, Live RC, A-Main Hobbies, yourself, Scotty. Getting Ken Stout on board and Mike Garrison in there. I mean, it's so far it's a phenomenal event, and I'm sure it's going to get better.
All right, well, appreciate your time. Congratulations. Best of luck.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Said from one of the best in the world, Ryan Mayfield. He is famous in our world of racing. He's here for racing, here to represent his companies, try to win, try to get the big dollars, but he understands the opportunity that we have to showcase the hobbies that we all love in front of thousands of people here. It's just a great time and a great run there for Ryan Mayfield.
Yeah, no doubt, Scotty. What a great spokesman for the sport as well. And he has a great sense of humor. If you read his bio there, he actually has in there, if this was ancient Greece, people would believe he was a son of Zeus with his incredible skills and abilities. So when you read stuff like that, you know the guy takes himself lightly, but he is no joke on that track for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 30-minute hiatus here. We will be back at 11:45 Central Time for round number 2. So everybody's going to take a quick break here, get out of this heat, relax, prep the cars for the next round, and we hope you will join us for that. In the meantime, for Mike Garrison and Scotty Ernst, I'm Ken Stout. We'll join you in just about 30 minutes right here at Mid-America Outdoors.